candid speaking, and you're with Subash. Subash, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Subash. I'm the Chief of Staff and Product at LCOR.AI. That's pretty much the theme.
Thank you. I'm a senior PM with Walmart, and we're discussing some burning answers to some burning questions here. For example, to those that are watching, and I know a lot of you that follow me are students from India, and you're thinking if you should come to the US in the year 25, 26, you're actively applying and you're watching what's happening and you're like, man, should I apply? That's what we're going to be talking about. And views here are totally like our personal views, but we just thought, why not open it up and discuss. So what do you think, Subash?
What I'm going to say is like quite controversial, but at the same time, it's a hot take just from me. I personally feel like in this environment, it's better to like wait, I would say. India is, booming, and the tech sector has always been booming. And I would recommend grads to just get some experience back in India, wait a couple of years or even 3, and see how the scene is. Then, in fact, you're more likely to get into a better program and increase your chance of success to the US. So that's what I would say. But on the other side, I would also recommend if you get into a tier 1 program at your college or university, you should still make it, because there's always going to be demand for folks studying these programs from employers. So yeah, that's the other side trying.
Yeah, perfect. I think he addressed both sides really well. Just adding on, adding another controversial opinion to an already controversial opinion. So I met a bunch of folks at the Harvard India conference that I attended last year. And, how we think that people from Harvard and Stanford are getting hired by all the top employers. I was really shocked to see the opposite. I saw a lot of people who were about to graduate, still looking for jobs. People who graduated, still looking for jobs after 3 months. And I personally know someone who went back to India and then luckily got an opportunity to come back to the US. But I know that the market is not great even for tier 1 universities, but not discouraging anyone. Honestly speaking, there are more opportunities now to build because, with the news coming up about how you can build your own company with H1B, it's gotten easier. Just, for everything that I'm talking, there's a controversial point which also invites people from India to the US. So honestly, we're also looking and building our opinions as we go. One day I'm totally on one side and the next day I'm damn, I think people should come here and build because, AI companies are booming and there's money in the market like nowhere else. Definitely more than how much there is in India. But, when I look at my friends in India, earning so much as product managers in India, which never used to happen before, and they're having maids and, they're not cooking, and so I'm washing clothes and doing my own dishes, I do sometimes feel like they're living the better life. What do you think about that?
I feel I try to go to India often, and I live both lives. I feel like all this earning more and spending less is way better. Sometimes I also feel like I'm missing out on a lot of things like family occasions and things like that. At the same time, I also feel like if I'm not in the US, I'm just going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. I think the US, gave me a lot, and I wouldn't have gotten a lot of opportunities if I wasn't in the right place at the right time. So I can make, both arguments, right? So there should always be a mix. At the same time, I have my friends, complain that they're, work hectic work schedules and they have to work all the time, and they could move to the US for a better opportunity. So the grass is greener on the other side all the time.
That is true. No, that is so true. Yeah, when you were talking, so I was thinking as well. And the more you think about it, I read this quote somewhere on Instagram, and it stuck to me because once you fly away from your city and you build your own home in another country, and when you go back home, yes, that does feel like home, but you do also want to fly back and come here because it's home too, right? I feel that a lot. And no matter which city I move into, and as you rightly said, growth happened a lot more here because you're more independent and you don't have a choice. You have to grow to put food on your table, to network. And I think if I had just been in India, I don't know if I would have explored so much. And now I do not have the fear of traveling anywhere. And Grateful for all that, but as you said, like, that feeling of home is constantly, I'm still in the search of it. And yeah, I think that is what is a big question mark right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. You'll miss out on a lot if you move to the US. At the same time, I think the US just prepares you for something that like nothing can do. It can,
Sure.
yeah, it can give you a background as well as like I would say a hero or a villain.
So are you a hero or a villain?
We'll
find out.
I'm figuring it out. Yeah. That US prepares you for
well,
that.
You have the Dali for the written book, so I think we should roll with the written.
Yeah, I'll just be a villain. Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like if you like go to the US, figure out your immigration, and if you have a really good job, nothing really scares you. I feel like that. Yeah.
Sure.
And I think like here's you try on ambiguity, and this is the kind of people that like anybody in India like hire. So even if you're here a couple of years, like you study, you learn anything, and you graduate, I think you're going to do really well in India, right? But just make sure like whatever you make the most out of your time, like when you're here.
Okay. And since you spoke about ambiguity, coming to the other word, layoffs, I think that is the biggest and the most annoying part of like living here, because when you're on a payroll, you don't know if the next day you're going to be on it, waking up with that anxiety, because when you're not in your motherland, you're always an alien. I think that is definitely one of the most frustrating points, right? Like how to living here, because in India, okay, yeah, it's still difficult to get a job, but at least you're with your parents, you're with your family. You don't feel so dejected. Like if you get laid off in the US, I think that's the first feeling. Like you lose all your confidence and you're like, oh man, what next? And that 3-month deadline of like be here, go home. I think that can drive so much anxiety.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest negative, in my opinion, if you think about it, India versus the US.
Well, yeah, for sure. Like you will be like living a life of uncertainty, right? Every single day, like one day you could be like planning a Europe trip. The next week you could be in a miserable state, like not having a job and having to apply like every single second until you get the pick. But I think it's just part of the journey. And
so true, yeah.
Yeah. And if you sign up for the highs, I think you also have to sign up for the lows. And your job is always to like increase the chances of being on the high all the time. That's the game. That's a gameplay, right? So, like I said, I mean, you don't have any entitlement of anything in the US.
Yeah.
And you just have to like try to that ambiguity. And if you can do that, like the world is yours. If not, like it's fine. Even it's fine. Yeah, you go by.
I think that's why both of us make good product managers, because every product manager job description says thriving in ambiguity. It's like part of the job. But that brings me to a great point, because before letting him go, we need to ask him how he navigated his job search, because he just joined his new company like 3-4 weeks back.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Bay Area, by the way. So, yes, if single girls are watching, Subash here, he's looking.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he did not pay me to say that. But anyway, going off topic now. So could you tell us how you navigated this really intense and taxing job market?
Yeah. So like funny that I've never applied for a job. So it's always like you get one experience and you let people know that what you are gaining by experience. So that's when you market yourself. Go talk to people. How are you, like navigating this whole thing? What are you doing ideally? And also like reach out on LinkedIn, like write posts on X, and people will somehow find you, or they will find you and like let someone else know that you need them. So that's how I got all my opportunity in the US. I've worked for like 3 companies in the US so far, and it's always like, hey, you do this, can you do this for us?
Wow, okay.
So that's what we have, like talks, and I feel like we just like do one thing really, really well and let the world know that you can do it well. People want that, right?
So it's a live example. Like I've heard of it so much, but we have someone for whom it's clicked. right? So, could you talk a little bit more about, like, okay, let's say this person found you, then what happened after that? Was it an interview? How did that go through?
Yeah, it was a pretty immense interview because it was a chief of staff role. I was required to head product at the same time of ops and people for an entire org. So I was tested, in a lot of variety of ways, and it was extensive interviews, like one-on-ones and things like that. But eventually, if a company puts a trust in you and gives you that kind of a title, that means that you have to prove them, in a lot of right ways. So fortunately, it worked out, and I was trying to move out of Boston as well, and everything aligned. Here we are.
Yeah. Awesome. So welcome to the Bay, and I hope you have a great time here. Thank you for talking to my audience. It was so lovely having you.
Yeah.